people like Dinny Quigley up in Auckland. We used to go there for lessons, and my mother and father used to bring us to different teachers, but they could pick anyone at all from any part of Wicklow, because there were so many different teachers around. And there were sessions all the way from Hackestown to Hollywood, or from Shillelagh up to Red Cross. There's a lot of tradition there, and there's a lot of music, but it's not often you hear about it. And I played on the Ceili House in 1994, and the presenter was asking the piper Quigley, he says, "You don't really hear very much about piping or good Irish traditional music in Wicklow, do you?" As the piper replied, he says, "Sure, we don't like to shout about it."
But when I started playing on that in Dublin, I was going around with Eddie Clark. You wouldn't. There was the number of pubs in Dublin that you would be entertained in. You'd be put out in most of them. Other than Donoghue's and Marion Row and a few others. There was another one in Mead Street we used to go to an odd night, but there were very, very few. John Riley, John Kelly, and Joe Ryan played of a Saturday, on Friday and Saturday and Sunday nights in Donoghue's. Yeah. And that was the only place there was a regular players playing. No?
It wasn't
reckoned with. You were put out.
Let's not forget, like in the 1950s, it was like probably the least, or just before the 1950s, it was nearly dying out. It was hardly, no one was going near Irish traditional music, and you often hear the story of fiddlers going down the road and they put their fiddle under their jacket, or they put their flute away, or singers weren't allowed to go into sing in a pub or anything like that. So I think today now the chances are just completely different. It's the complete opposite. We've actually so many young musicians coming up now that they don't even know what to do with them.
I remember my father, Ted Finlay, and Ned MacDonald, a fellow who learned his music in a fife and drum band in Ballynochan in the quarries. The Ballynochan over again near Vallymount there. They were supplying granite at that time. Most of the granite in Dublin, the constant came out of Ballynochan. And Ned was a stonemason, and he played the concert flute, but he learned the music and learned to read music with the fife and drum band in Ballynochan. But those are the lads. Brian Daniels come down with his son there. John Keenan, we stayed with, was a native of Knockananna. And his sister was married to John Loughlin. And John Loughlin was Mr. Music in Wicklow up to his death. There's no man did more for music in this county than John Loughlin of Ballymorris, Auckland. And John Keenan got my father to form a branch. He got John Loughlin to form a branch in Auckland, and I think they were the first two branches in Wicklow. And the branch in Denard is still going, and the branch in Auckland is still going. And that's a long time going now. But we had great sessions, great county flairs and that in Auckland back years ago. Then
Mrs. Whittle
was Mr. Boss in Denard, and John was Boss in Denard. And I think my father was secretary. I'm a native of Dunard over in West Wicklow, a little hamlet there in the Glenlimal. I was born in 1946, and from the time I can remember, my father played music. I remember as a small child him wrapping up an accordion in an army cape and heading off on a bicycle on a Sunday night to play at a dance in Hollywood or a dance in Bonafuca. But we were reared on nothing else, only traditional music, and we had sessions around in some houses in the village or in our house, and we'd go to different houses. There was a few nice musicians around the area.
In 1957, a branch of Comhaltas Ceili Band was established here, and it's still going strong. We have Irish music classes once a week down in the National School, and all musical instruments are taught there. We have great gatherings all together, huge gatherings all together, twice a year for all musicians from all over Ireland are welcome for two mini Fleadh. Mini Fleadh, the first Tuesday night in May and the first Tuesday night in October, where we would have, well, maybe 200, 250 persons, musicians, listeners, and the different ones watching the local hall. Is made a bronach is to me in Moylurg Ceili Band in my very near thee nu go luig to the room is for me all as my God.
They had Irish music there in the parochial hall, and it was a dance would go on from maybe 10 o'clock at night until 3 in the morning. You know, that was different. People actually came down on the train on a Sunday to dance. They stayed all night, danced and whatever ever happened, and went back on the train in the morning to Shillelagh and up that way. Yes, that did happen. It was the focal point of everywhere then. Before the hall was there, you see, there wouldn't be anywhere to meet. And with the onset of Comhaltas, it brought it up. It was marvellous, you know. 1960, yeah. We had the meeting in 1960. The Comhaltas were formed here in Auckland, the branch. So the music developed from there, and of course the teaching, the music classes started, which they were great as well. And that brought on the young people, you know, and there's dozens of musicians now around. And we should have magnificent young players now, you know, musicians at a very early age. And they're very good. Of course, the classes did all that. In my time, there wasn't any such thing as a music class. You know, it was a different situation altogether.
There's one great fiddler called Luke Kelly, and he came from Aughrim. He wasn't a singer now, but Luke was born in the 1880s and he died in 1963. And he was a champion dancer, piper, uilleann piper, and fiddler as well. And he once played in a competition in 1913. I think it was in Galway. So he used to play in the feises all over the country. Like he'd be down in Carlow, he'd be down in Waterford, and he was over in Galway. But he played in this Fleadh Cheoil, and Trasany Helping won the first place in the fiddling. But he came third, and a certain Michael Coleman came nowhere. So he was a sort of he was well known back in the early 1900s in that kind of Gaelic League time and all, coming up into the 1920s and 30s. I suppose if you look around you, if it's kind of like the Garden of Ireland, you know, it's one of the nicest areas in the country, and there'll be a lot of influence from music around the area, like in some people coming down from Dublin and people coming up from Wexford, and Carlow then is on the other side there as well. So there's a lot of music going back. If you look at even the Darley McCall collection from the 1909 or 1910, McCall's parents actually came from Clonmore, which is just across the border in Carlow, and then Duncormac in Wexford. So there was a lot of collecting going on, and then of course you also had Thomas Moore going back even further, down around Avoca. And so there'd be lots of music and song all the way back, and dance as well. And of course as well, if you go back as far as you want, then you get the Wicklow, the pipes are apparently the oldest wooden instrument in the world, and they go back thousands of years, and they were discovered in grey stones in 2003.
The first group that was ever created in Avoca was 1920s, and it was all miners that worked in the Cunnery mines. A lot of the members had kids then that played music in the area, and one was the Harper family, which is my grandfather. My dad then also formed a band with his brother Kevin and Frankie, and there was other musicians, Matt Sharp from Arklow, surrounding areas. There was John McGrath used to come in and play the odd time with them when they needed extra musicians. Johnny Bass from Gorey. There was Jimmy Smullins from Wicklow Town. So it was a lot of local musicians came together, or as I say, in the surrounding areas. And they played, they went overseas to play in America 6 times. They went over for St. Patrick's Day to New York and Seattle, and they then went to a tour of England and Scotland. So they were a well-known group in traditional circles. They formed a kind of a side band, which was a couple of other musicians, Eamon Bulger. And then in the 90s it kind of dwindled out. And then that's where our group formed its name. There was a revival in music in Avoca, so we formed a branch in 2017. A lot of the kids in the branch, their parents would have played music in the area, so it's kind of keeping the heritage going, if you can know what I mean.
Unfortunately, due to COVID, we can't have our lessons in person anymore, so they're taking place online over Zoom, etc. But yeah, we are very looking forward to getting back face to face as soon as we can. Obviously, it's not what people signed up for. You know, music is a face to face, playing with a group. You'd want to be beside the people you're playing with, but we do what we have to for now to keep the music going at least.
We really wanted to hone in on the tradition and keep traditional music alive in the Avoca area. There hadn't been a branch since the 60s. There was a branch. I don't have much history on that, but it didn't go on for very long, disbanded. But we're back again, please God, if COVID allows. And thank God it's strong, you know, we're doing well. majority of the families, they live for music, whether it going to a session in a house or whether it's performing for people in halls. It's just music is embedded in the area. With the COVID and all, like it's actually more important because it gives them a sense of something else to do. Like if you were sitting at home and you weren't allowed to do anything like sport or anything like that, at least you have music, you can take out a musical instrument and play, which is a big thing.
Good-natured, as pure as the dew, the green mossy banks where oft I did woo the heart of my darling, and I kissed her lips too, my sweet little girl from Barna. My love, she has riches, both silver and land, sheep, cows, and fine horses, and a snowy white hand, and a cot by the hillside by fair breezes stand, my sweet little girl from Barna. When my country is freed, it is then she'll be mine, my heart and my riches, and all will be thine. I'll buy for her jewels and diamonds so fine, my sweet little girl from Barna. My country's in bondage, and I must set it free from the foes that oppress my green isle of the sea. Should victory smile on a banner to thee, I'll fly and live happy in Barna.
I think it's very important for children to learn traditional music. Not only does it pass on a good heritage that we have to offer, but it's also a good skill for life. It's good for memory skills, motor skills. It's good for making new friends, and you know, you can take music all over the world. So I think it's a really important thing to learn for life.
The Comhaltas branch here is probably one of the newest branches, but basically drawing on all of the different groups that are already in this area. This is a great area for traditional music, whether it's Blessington or Hollywood or Ballynockin. For example, the Music Under the Mountains Festival in Hollywood. So it's an area that's rich in Irish traditional music. People, I suppose, Pat Conlon is the key man behind it, and his daughter Rachel, a fiddle player, and her husband Alan Reid, banjo, bouzouki, mandolin, etc. They're no longer in the wee town with us, but they were huge in the setting up of it. And the instruments that are taught there every Sunday would be tin whistle, bodhrán, guitar, singing, of course, so all the main instruments. And the tutors, we have a number of tutors. Phil Callery of the Vice Squad is probably our best known tutor. And then we have John Whelan on the bodhrán, and a number of other people whose names now are escaping me quickly.
My grandmother sang and played in County Cavan, and my father played the fiddle, so he passed the fiddle on to me. And actually I went to the school, Chatham Road, music school in Chatham Road, to study classical music. And then later on I started a big interest in trad. No, the fact that it's so accessible now gives people a better insight and a quicker way into the music. It was very difficult for me to get music. I got it from my dad. It was very difficult to get music from other sources. You had to leave town and head to the country, and most weekends searching out, finding people to listen to. They were scarce, and the music wasn't as popular then as it is now today. It was hard to find the music. I've always had an interest in the fiddle, and it's come more into my life of late. And I've been teaching in the community here. I taught Rachel when she was six years of age, up to the time, and she went on into Limerick and graduated there in music, which I'm very proud of. It's never too late. That really is the key to it. And the more mature the person, the more focused they are. It's difficult for young children because they're obviously influenced by their parents, which have every good intention of sowing the seeds. And those seeds do bear fruit eventually, but it can take a child a long time to realise, what the gift they've been given. They don't accept it in the beginning as a gift. But later on in life, they may go back to the music, and that seed will blossom again.
have a huge interest in the language, in the tonga, in the star. So really it's a mixture of trying to merge all those things together. And the main ethos of Blessington would be community support. So whether it's the opening of the Christmas trees or whether it's a ceremony to mark, say, the birth of Ninette de Valois from Blessington, the founder of the Royal Ballet, you might say, what's the link there? The link is Blessington Comhaltas are out on that day behind every event. Or maybe a more important one would be, there's a big concert every year for the Blessington Daycare Centre, and always Comhaltas are to the fore of that. And then very lasting maybe on events, if I may, we have a gorgeous event every year for Heritage Week down in Killeen Creveen, Hollywood, down here beside us, and that's in the old Church of Ireland Church, with its 16th century roof and the rest of it, you know, and candles and music and poetry and song. Where would you be going?
The given note. On the most westerly Blasket, in a dry stone hut, he got this air out of the night. Strange noises were heard by others who followed, bits of a tune coming in on loud weather, though nothing like melody. He blamed their fingers and ear as unpractised, their fiddling easy, for he had gone alone into the island and brought back the whole thing. The house throbbed like his full violin. So whether he calls it spirit music or not, I don't care. He took it out of wind off mid-Atlantic. Still, he maintains, from nowhere. It comes off the bow gravely, rephrases itself into the air.
Bye. Fleadh banjo ag Joe. Fleadh banjo ag banjo. Och bar go Joe manjo. No Joe no banjo manjo go Joe.
I mean, we've had kids go on and win All Irelands. We've had them, and it's very difficult to get out of Leinster. We had 3 kids going to, they were all under 12s, and they went off to Sligo to the All Ireland. So, you know, we've had our winners. It's because it gives the children something to aim for. If Mary could go, that means I can play the same tunes as Mary. Why can't I do as well? It gives them somewhere to go with the music. It's fine listening to music in isolation, but you need to go with your music somewhere else. If they can go and sit in front of anyone, even at a local Fleadh, that's the equivalent of their leaving cert. They can cope with an awful lot of things. It does give them skills to cope with the world outside. It's probably more important now than ever was, because it gives people a way to tune out. It also gives, Irish music in particular has the effect of giving people friends that they would never have met or been involved in, going around the country to Fleadhs. They've got somewhere to go with the music. The competition isn't the main thing, but it's going and seeing what other people are doing, taking out your whistle, sitting down and playing with other people, whether it's a whistle, pipes, flutes, whatever. The instrument is immaterial.
Just to look around you, like, you know, you say, well, what culture is here, or what's from Wicklow that isn't from anywhere else? And there's loads of names of tunes if you think about it. The Miners of Wicklow is one, which is from up around here near Lara, and then there's the Streams of Pula Fuca, which is just up near the northern part of the county. There's the Wicklow Jig, there's the Wicklow Hornpipe, and a whole load of other ones. And my teacher, Larry Kinstow, was one of the best known concertina players from this part of the country. He was always giving me these different types of tunes, and he would always make sure that he learned the ones that were from the area as well, because it's a very nice thing to have music from your own local area.
One of the important aspects of Bray cultus, and it's important to stress this, is when we started the branch in 2007, I had been teaching in Roundwood from about 2001 to 2007, and I generated classes and students from Bray from other parts of North Wicklow. They were coming to Bray, and they were very enthusiastic players, great families, great players. So when we started in 2007, we actually had a very strong branch before we even started. We didn't realise that we get so big, but the emphasis was always on music and learning your music, but also performing your music.
First started in 2012. We had a concert in Bray Library where we got all the harps together under Claire O'Donnell, who was the harp teacher in Bray Comhaltas at the time. And then we got going again a couple of years later in 2016 for a concert in Bray Library. And we got all the harps together again and started putting some arrangements together, playing a few tunes, and really just to kind of get a more social thing going for the harp players. Sometimes being a bigger instrument, it's a bit harder to bring along to a session, or you kind of miss out on that kind of social side of things. So I think it was a good opportunity for all the harp players to get to know each other, to play some music together. And then we also had a harp maker in Wicklow here for a while, Kevin Harrington, who was working up in Roundwood making harps. So there's a couple of students in the branch who are playing Kevin's harps now. And it's lovely to see the progress that all the students have made over the last few years in terms of their playing, but also their performing and the sense of fun that they're getting out of it as well. I just love the sound of it, and it's so versatile as an instrument. You can play the melody or accompaniment or do both. And there's also an historic harp tradition here in Wicklow as well. There was a synod of harpers in the 11th century just across the road here in Glendalough, so it was nice to kind of get the harps together and get something going again.
Okay. Hi everyone, Fleadh Cheoil. We are a rhythm orchestra from County Wicklow. We're usually a group of about 27, but there's a little bit less here today. So, as introduced, we'll be playing extracts from the suite composed for us by Derry O'Donnell, Rachel Duffy and Tim Doyle called Ring the Blina.
The first part of our performance today is a lovely piece called Lunacy, written by a very talented harp player over here, Rachel Duffy. Jerry O'Donnell will also be conducting us throughout our performance. We hope you enjoy.
Rhythm Orchestra was an idea developed gradually, I suppose, through the years. The 2016 commemoration of the 1916 was an opportunity to develop something for that particular 2016 commemorations. And in 2015, rehearsals started with a suite of music composed by Tim Doyle. And it was put together in a women of prayer very, very much, with enthusiasm from the parents, of course, and the kids were excellent. They really they thought this was an exciting project, and it certainly was. And the orchestra then premiered that music in, first of all in Bray, of course, but they played in some, I think it was 16 or 18 venues around Dublin, and it was a tremendous launch, if you like, of that idea of having a more advanced players involved in new music. And so the next year we had another project, and it was called Ring the Blina. I suppose we were looking for a bigger platform, and although the Rhythm Orchestra was centred in Bray, we thought it would be a very good idea to expand it out to the rest of Wicklow. That is to audition for other people. And we linked up with Music Generation Wicklow, and we became then officially the Rhythm Trad Orchestra. And we have members from Bray, of course, from all around. And they're not just traditional players, because we made sure that we offer the opportunity for classical trained players who were interested in traditional. And we must remember too, very good traditional players also play classical. So this was then an opportunity to expand. So together with the group, the Rhythm Orchestra, we had been invited to the Creative Connections Festival in Sitges in Spain. And that then offered the opportunity again, not just to play in sort of smaller venues, but quite large venues internationally. So that was very, very important for the group and for the branch in general, because most of these players would also be playing in under 18 groups and smaller duets and trios. So that was a combination of the Bray branch of Comhaltas with the Rhythm Traditional Orchestra performing abroad. it's not a school of music. It's never meant to be a school of music. It's a community organisation. And I think in Bray we've managed to be visible within the community, playing in charity events, playing in churches, playing our own concerts. In fact, in 2010, Bray and Roundwood came together in a major concert in the Bray, in the Mermaid Theatre in Bray. And we had something like 150 odd performers on stage, everything from 12-year-olds right up to advanced players. We actually made a CD from that, which again supported the whole idea that, you know, this is a community organisation. What's really important about that is because not only did we allow the under 10s and 12s to get on stage and play Baba Black Sheep, if that's what it's regarded, but we also made sure that all of the other under 12s, under 15s, under 18s, right up to the advanced, all had an opportunity, including, which was really important, the Garden County Ceili Band, which is the first time that they played on stage. They eventually changed the name to the Templemichael Ceili Band, which then, of course, became very important in Leinster, where they qualified in Leinster for All Irelands many times, and particularly in 2013 when we did very well in the Derry Fleadh. And I should mention too, our dancing, very important aspect in our branch is that we wanted to ensure that our more advanced players knew how to dance. They didn't have to become great dancers, but to try dancing so that they could get that rhythm, that particular energy that's required for the music. After all, it's dance music. So that was an important aspect. So we made it up as we went along. We had tremendous success, lots of organisation, and happy to say that it continues so far.
There's no doubt about it. Comhaltas
No. Rescued Irish music. They did.
They did.
Okay, we've had our differences with Comhaltas and the upper echelons and all that, but there's no doubt about it. Comhaltas, through the structures around the country and the Fleadhs and that, they have rescued Irish music.
It gave it great credibility when the Fleadhs really got going, you know. Like the early days of the Fleadh, you had, the age group was 40 up, you know. Now it's 10 up, you know. You go to any of the junior competitions, you could be there for hours and hours listening. You know, it's
marvellous players.
Yeah,
marvellous. That's great.
The last Wicklow Fleadh that I was at down here, they had a programme. There was something like 25 or 30 pages of the names of children competing different instruments at different times in different age groups. Incredible. And it has become very acceptable. You know, if you're seen at all now with any sort of an instrument in company, oh, give us a tune, give us a tune. And before this, like, you'd be sliding down under the table in case anyone would see you. Now you've become very acceptable to add to the crack.
When it's presented with care, Irish traditional music can be really beautiful. If you listen to the types of Martin Hayes, for example, a great musician, and there's a lot of really excellent musicians out there who are crossing boundaries and going into different genres and all. So it's really important that you keep that exploration going as well as keeping the older traditions and going back into the archive stuff. So my kind of feeling about it all is to go deep and go wide at the same time.